Well, it was a truly disturbing crime. An Arkansas woman among those convicted of trafficking human remains that she stole from a Little Rock mortuary and crematorium. Well, tonight, for the first time, we are hearing from the mother of an infant whose body was among those stolen, and from a state lawmaker who wants to do something to prevent this from ever happening again. Here's Channel 7's Daniela DeHakeny.
Chris, Denisha Smith believed she had laid her son to rest, only to discover a year later that he had actually been sold to someone in a different state.
Okay, so tell me how this all first started. The FBI shows up at your door. At first you thought it was a joke.
So when the FBI actually came, I thought it was like a joke because my brother is a big jokester, but they did leave a card. We went to their head office where we were basically let know that my son was not in the urn that we were presented at his memorial service, but in all actuality, he had been trafficked. First off, we would have never known if my son was not left in one piece. A lot of these victims are literally just pieces. The biggest thing is not knowing who all has touched my son, who all has done what to him. We are very thankful to have him back, but what about the other victims out there that will never know if their loved one was a part of this?
How does going through all of this, because this is something it's not normal, how does it make you feel as a mother, just having to close that chapter and then having to realize that that wasn't the reality of what happened, so now you have to open this wound back up?
It's still hard to wrap my head around, honestly. Sometimes when I'm alone, I cry, I get emotional because I not only lost my son, but every time I think about losing him, I have to actually think about everything that he endured in his death. I just feel as if this is a wound that can never be healed. This is something that will always be in the back of my mind, in the back of my family's mind, wondering what happened to my son what really happened to my son after he left my care. It's a hurt that's so deep that you can't imagine unless you have a child, and then you think about them being taken away from you and just whatever someone else sees fit doing to them. Putting them on display like a collectible item or something like that. That will forever live on in my heart and in my mind, and that definitely is just very painful.
So now you know that a local hospital here in Arkansas was involved, as well as in the ring, a man in Minnesota and a man in Pennsylvania?
This person was based out of, the final person that actually had my son was based out of Minnesota. He actually was not really interested in giving my son back, but the paper trail actually led to let them know that he did have him.
If I'm only looking at 12, 13, 15 months in prison, but I'm making high 6 figures, almost 8 figures doing this, that doesn't discourage me. That could just be a little vacation for me, especially if I can keep the trafficking going while I'm in there. No different than a drug cartel, no different than a sex trafficker. It's the same mindset, same behavior, same goal. Money.
To my bewilderment, I would say, we did not have a law that prevented this type of activity. And so we immediately went to drafting a bill that would prohibit the sale of bodies given to crematories. Speaking as someone whose parent has been cremated, I now have to second guess if my mother's ashes were given to me. And that right there is just, no one should have to second guess if they have received their loved one's remains. No one at all.
Jail time is not discouraging them from doing this. So making it actual law and putting actual time behind that law, I think that would help them deter from doing this, because right now it's literally like a game to them. The FBI let us know that my son Lux, he shed a lot of light to the case because he was the only one that they could track back to who he belonged to. A lot of these other people were literally just pieces of a human. There's no way they would ever be able to identify who they belonged to, who their family members were they donated, or did somebody want them back? Even in his death, he should be honored. He should be able to rest in peace. He shouldn't have had to been shipped around the U.S. like an Amazon package.
Well, now Senator Fred Love calls his bill Lux's Law. It would make it illegal to sell human remains that are intended to be cremated and establishes penalties for selling a human body. It's now moving through the legislative process. On your side, I'm Daniela Tahogany.